All right. What's up, small business heroes? Welcome back to another episode of Small Business PR. I'm so excited today because I have someone who has been in our PR community for a long time now, and I just keep seeing her crushing it. Win after win after win. It seems like every week she's in our Facebook group talking about how she got featured. And if you also want to get featured, we're going to be sharing the very easy ways that you can connect with journalists every single day for free and get featured just like Swapna. So Swapna, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Gloria. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to be here too. Now, obviously, we have a lot of coaches and also product owners listening to this podcast, and the methods obviously work for both. There's a blue ocean of opportunity for anyone in any industry. But really quickly, can you tell people one sentence, what you do, who you serve, kind of your business?
Sure. I am a personal stylist and I serve women entrepreneurs, those of us, especially with a digital presence. And these days, who doesn't have a digital presence? But basically, when you're visible, your business succeeds. And when you feel really good about yourself, you feel like being visible. And that's when your wardrobe comes in. So I feel like your clothes are that hidden secret or X factor to unlocking the next level of your success. And that's what I teach women.
Oh, I love that too. Everyone, definitely get your color theory, done, because it has changed my world as well. So I know before we started recording, you said that you actually started making a list of all the places that you've been featured. After you joined the program, can you just go through the list? Well, let's talk about how many places, PR opportunities.
Sure. So I joined your program last winter, so a year ago. And since January of 2024, I have had 8 PR features, ranging from the Wall Street Journal to a TV appearance and even on Canvas Rebel and Bold Journey. A total of 8 opportunities.
And how has that changed your business and the way that you communicate your message?
So, Gloria, as a stylist, I didn't become a stylist because I love to shop or I'm good at shopping or things like that. I actually have 2 bachelor's degrees in fashion, one in design and one in merchandising. And for a decade of my life, I was a designer in New York City. But somehow I still felt like I have been competing with people who don't, actually have the same qualifications as I do. And I felt like to boost my know, like, and trust factor, I needed some really great set of as seen on logos on my website. And I wanted to do it in a way that felt aligned, that felt authentic, which means not paid opportunities. And that's why at the end of last year, in 2023, I had decided that getting those logos, getting those PR features was going to be on my goal list for 2024. Happy to report that I have far exceeded my expectations.
I love that. So let's cut to the chase here. You said something very important, which is not those paid features, because there are literally people in my inbox right now telling me that I can get logos today. So can you tell people why you didn't want to do those pay to play PR scams that are actually just ads and don't get SEO? Like, why did you decide to do it the organic way?
I did it the organic way because I've always grown my business very organically, through referrals, through my network. And that feels really good for me. I did not want to pay because honestly, there's so many scammers out there and there's no way to distinguish a true opportunity, even if you're paying for it, versus a scam. And I really don't think that it's something I need to pay for. What is going to be my return on investment, And I really thought that if I did this in a way that felt good to me, where I get to show up as an expert and I can build good relationships with people, that was my way of doing it and doing it successfully.
Ooh, that is so good. I mean, that's what I say all the time is the best publicity is free publicity. Yes. Otherwise, it's just an ad and not publicity. Yes. So I just want to clear the air for everyone. You don't have a lot of journalist friends. You didn't come into this rubbing shoulders with a lot of publicists, right? Like, did you have any?
Not at all. Okay. No, I don't.
So you started PR, later on in life. It's not like you were an Instagram influencer. And, I think for many of us, especially if English is not our first language, if women of color, there's a lot of barriers because we traditionally are told not to talk about ourselves. And
right.
My mom literally told me to keep my head down and say, yes, sir, if I'm being paid. And that's when I wanted to leave my government job. So this work is so sacred to me as it is for you too. We are literally rewriting generations of things that kept us small and quiet and silent because we're taught to just not talk about ourselves. So this is really, I'm really proud of you for doing this work. Let's talk about the tools that you have used to help you on this journey. And then we can talk a little bit about, how you became basically a master pitch writer, because that's what this is. It's not about the size of business you have or how cool your website is. It's like just knowing how to write a pitch. So let's start with what tools have helped you.
So when I took your program and I watched those videos, and then we did a half a day VIP day or a full VIP day, I forget. But I cannot stress the importance whenever in my business I have the opportunity to spend one-on-one time with somebody and I can make that happen. I cannot tell you the payoff it has more than sitting there and watching recorded video lessons, right? So when I was on the Zoom call with you and we were talking and you actually wrote that first pitch in front of me, I just felt like all these light bulbs went off in my head. And I can tell you specifically the things I felt were different in your method that I did not know how to do or had not even thought of doing. Nobody had taught me, was establishing your credibility right up front. And not in a me kind of way, but in a this is why your audience will love hearing from me kind of way. So that was very key. And that whole CPR method and your way of following up with reporters, those were all just pure gold. So I took that method, and you have a fantastic database. So I did follow your method of pitching to people from the database. But what I realized is, and this is just my experience and what works for my energy, is I don't know what they're working for. Now we do know, and you've brought in so many experts in your group that have said, well, we file away interesting pitches and we revisit them at a later time. For me, I wasn't sure what people are looking for, even though I think, for example, color theory, color analysis is the hardest thing in 2024. I didn't want to expend my energy convincing somebody. So I wanted to look for things that they are actually already working on and then pitch my angle to what they're writing about. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So expand a little bit more, because it's like, how do we find out about these tools? And so can you share a little bit about the tools that helped you get into like Wall Street Journal and all those places?
Sure. So my favorite tool that I was already actually subscribed to and used to pitch is HARO. It has since been renamed as Peter Shankman's SOS. So all it is an email newsletter that goes out 3 times a day with requests from journalists for pitches for articles that they are working on, right? So what I do 3 times a day is I comb through that list and I really see where I can be of value, where I have something to say that is meaningful. So one of the ones, I'll give you an example, was an article in USA Today. And the request was, why are people overpacking for vacation? Right? And it's resulting in so many billions of dollars paid to airlines and excess baggage fees. Now, this is not a typical style question, but I'm not only about, shopping or brands, right? I explore like this whole psychology side of style. So I felt like this is where I really had something different and insightful to say. So I sent my pitch. I had my credibility paragraph at the beginning, and then I gave 3 specific areas of struggle and then 3 specific solutions that I think people can use to overcome overpacking. And within minutes, I got a reply back saying, yes, we're going to use this and we'll send you when it's published.
Wow. That's like literally minutes. And people always are asking me, what is the ROI? How long do I have to wait? But you literally heard back within minutes. So how did that go? Did you know that it was for USA Today, or you didn't know what publication?
I did know it was for USA Today. It said that in the pitch. Oh. But here's the other interesting thing. That same reporter published that article in 2 or 3 other smaller newspapers. before it actually went live on USA Today. So I just thought that was very interesting. But yes, it is in USA Today now.
So you did that for a few minutes and you got not one backlink, but multiple backlinks. What was
Yes.
the interview process like? Because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't, maybe English is not my first language. Like, I don't want to get on the phone. Right. So what do you have to say to that?
Get on the phone. You sound better than you think, and I think journalists, especially, I think, are looking for unique perspectives and points of view. So why not? What do you have to lose? If
Yeah.
nothing else, it's a practice round.
But for most of the HARO requests, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't have to get on a phone call, right?
No, the only time I had to get on a phone call was with Wall Street Journal.
Okay. So 99% of the time you didn't even need, so it was just through email. Was it kind of back and forth, or just like?
It wasn't. I would just send the pitch, and I've noticed in my experience, when they write back to you pretty much right away saying, yes, we got it, or acknowledge it in some way, it's usually a good sign. That means it's going to be included in their article.
Wow. So they literally just took what you wrote and put it in the article without needing much back and forth.
That's correct.
That's so beautiful. Okay. So are there any tips that you have found for HARO? Because I can imagine, thousands of people are subscribed to this and it can be an internet black hole. So how can you maximize your chances of actually getting a yes?
So for me, please don't laugh at what I'm going to say. It's really tuning into your intuition and looking at those requests and saying, this feels right to me. So I think you and I have talked in DMs before about human design. So my human design is a projector, and projectors have to wait for invitation, right? So this is also why pitching to journalists did not feel very comfortable to me. I knew if I continued on that path, that was going to create a little bit of burnout for me. And that's just me and my energy type. So I started treating these requests that I found, whether on HARO or on Substack, and we'll talk about Substack in a second, but I started treating them as invitations, right? And they show up in my inbox, their request for a pitch. And then I started looking at them and saying, okay, where can I really show up and make a difference? And where will my insight be valued? So I would say tune into your intuition to really see what energetically feels good to you amongst those requests. And, this time of the year, there's a lot of requests for products and gift ideas. And because I'm a service-based business, I don't really fit into a lot of those. So I really have to pay attention to those little things that they're requesting for.
Yeah. What about like timeliness? Because I have a HARO training in the program. I always say you want to reply like right away because then their inbox gets so full. Have you found more success if you reply to the HARO email once you get it? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do think that makes a difference because sometimes the deadlines are a week or 2 weeks out, but I feel like by the time 2 weeks comes around, they have, like you said, already had so many things show up in their inbox. So I do think within that first half hour to 30 minutes makes a big difference.
Okay. So you have the alert up. Now I've gone HARO before and I teach this. There's like hundreds of very different things. People asking bakers, dog walker, like how do you sift through? Do you just do like control F or like how do you save your time on this?
I just, they're organized by industry as well, right? So business and tech. Oh, that's the other thing, because they are organized by industry, like business, technology, finance, lifestyle, wellness. It's easier to skim through those. But this is where I've found great success is actually looking for queries that are not in what I would consider my industry. So, for example, style could be under lifestyle, but also look for it under travel. Look for how your niche may be relevant in business, for example, right? So branding mistakes people are making, like clothes are not something people have top of mind when it comes to branding, but it is a part of that. So I do think it is a unique perspective. So that's just an example of where I would pay attention to looking outside my niche or my industry for a query.
Yeah, that's really smart. I think a lot of times people think, well, I'm in food and beverage, so unless it's something about restaurants, like it's not going to be for me. But there's so many, like you said, travel and like food tourism and flavors of the fall. So obviously in the program we talk about pitching for the seasons. It's not about
Right.
how newsworthy you are, it's how do you adapt your story because you can get featured all year round like you. And I love that you've been able to find these opportunities that are not technically about color theory or branding, but have worked, like you said, with packing. Can you give me another example of a story that maybe isn't like, I'm looking for a style expert, but you still got featured?
Yes. So let's talk about Wall Street Journal. The article, Wall Street Journal is obviously, all about business, but the article that she was writing was about a specific brand called Brandy Melville. And if you don't know what Brandy Melville is, it's very popular amongst tween and teen girls. They are known for their one size fits small. It is a brand that I am vehemently opposed to in my household. As you know, I have a teenager. So the interview request for was actually for parent and child. So definitely different than just my professional opinion. But this is how it fits into what I do, because when I teach people to dress themselves and shop, we talk a lot about values, right? So Brandy Melville is a perfect example of a brand that wasn't um, something that sat well with me, because they don't showcase diverse models. Their founders have made some very racist comments, things like that. So I could bring that angle when I was speaking to that reporter.
Yeah, that is like so huge because I think a lot of times, and part of what we're trying to do in our PR community is make you realize that you're not just a jewelry founder and you're not like, there's so many
Right.
more things that you can talk about, whether it's sustainability, whether it's inclusiveness in fashion, that
Mhm.
once you start to think differently, you realize there's so many opportunities. And so
Right.
I love what you did. You're like, yes, even though I am someone who, I have a consultancy for styling women, but I'm also talking about packing tips and I'm talking about, giving commentary on Brandy Melville. I think
Right.
that's so amazing. What else has the CPR method, which is, obviously the method that we teach about.
Right.
And for those of you who want to know more about the CPR method, watch my PR masterclass. Go to gloriachowpr.com/masterclass. You know exactly the framework of a pitch, a cold pitch. How else have you used the CPR method in your life to help you get out
Sure.
there?
So I actually think not just for my pitches for PR, but generally as well. One of the things you had said either in a training video or on our call was not to have too many I sentences. I think this, or, I believe that, but make it about them and their audience. So saying your readers will love this cream because, or, um, you know, people commonly believe that. So I think some of those tiny reframes make such a big difference in sending emails and writing emails, whether you're pitching yourself to your clients or you're pitching yourself for PR. So I think that really stuck out to me, and really understanding that these people get lots of emails and their time is very precious. So they're probably going to be skimming through it. So how to bullet the most important things, or how do you close your email saying, you know, if you need to reach me, these are the best ways. I had never thought of that. The other mistake I had made before I met you was I would wait for them to write back and say, yes, we want to talk to you about this, versus just sending the information right away. So if the query was 5 fashion must haves from Amazon, I used to send an email and say why I was qualified to comment, but I was not actually sending them the 5 items. Versus now I'll just say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is my website if you need to check my credibility. And then these are the 5 items, and this is why I think they're fabulous.
So good. You're basically making it so frictionless that they can take something and run with it, because journalists are writing tons of stories and
Right.
it's usually the person who can get in early at the right time. I'll never forget. I had a startup client and I was trying to pitch her. She was in like workforce, like labor law, and she wanted to get into, a place like The Guardian, which is, known for its regulatory news.
Right.
And the journalist didn't get back to me. This was when I was still pitching for people. And then 3 months later, something happens in the news because the news is always evolving. She actually went back to her inbox and replied on that thread from 3 months ago and was like, are they available for a quote today? And I didn't work for them anymore, but then I got her connected to the journal. She was on the front page of the Guardian the next day. So
That's
it's really
incredible.
about, yeah, it's really about being open, but like responding right away, because a journalist will respect you if they know that you are someone who can get them the information so that they can churn out the stories. And they're always churning out stories. And so
Absolutely.
that's another limiting belief. A lot of people think they're like, well, if they don't respond, then they hate me, or it's dead in the water. Not true. Or that like, it's not interesting. Not true, because there's always a way you can change up your relevance. And so hopefully from listening to Swapna, for all of you, like she talked about how it's not just about color theory, but also about packing and vacation and this and that. Think about the various bigger themes that you can talk about. Write them down, because I promise you it's more than just whatever it is that you are known for.
Definitely. I think we have to learn to tell our story, and especially as women of color, minorities, right? Our story is one of the most powerful tools that we have in our business. And especially in this world of AI, like I was just reading today, and this woman in her email was saying that AI has taken over so much of our copy and posts and things like that, that we really need a strong brand. And a brand is really how you show up in the world. And part of that is your know, like, trust factor, which is absolutely boosted by having those neat little logos on your website.
Yeah. So now you've been in all these places. You have established yourself as an authority in the Wall Street Journal. You've also talked about more things that are aligned with what you're offering, which is the styling techniques. How has it helped your business? Has it, more than just logos? Like, have you
Right.
been able to close more business? Has it given you more SEO? Have you built your email list up?
Yes, so definitely I was always the expert. Now people see me as the expert as well. I've increased my prices. I think the caliber of clients that I have started getting is different than, what I used to get. So people definitely love that stamp of approval. When they come to your website, they don't know that you have 2 bachelor's degrees and you've served over 1,000 women right off the bat. So you need other easy things to get people's attention quickly. And it's just been great, because now actually in my pitch where I introduce myself in that paragraph, I will tell the reporter that my insights have been featured on, and then I'll list like a couple of brands that are relevant. And I think that helps too.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you and proud of you. So you talked about HARO. Now let's talk about another gold mine. We actually
Yes.
just had a journalist come in and to meet everyone, but Substack. Can you tell a little, like, we know Substack is a kind of a blog
Right.
situation where freelance writers can monetize and, get you to subscribe, but there's, you can do free version too. How
Right.
has Substack helped you find out what they're writing before it hits the stands?
Right. So I actually stumbled upon Substacks for reporters when I was doing the cold pitching. So I followed your method of building relationships, and I started following a bunch of journalists online, right? Because sometimes you feel, oh, they're going to write about fashion, but they might be writing about 59 best places in Alaska. And that is a true story. So I started following people, and many of them included in their link in their bio, a link to their Substack. So then I started subscribing to one. And when you subscribe to one, they usually say, hey, if you subscribe to mine, you might like my friends X, Y, and Z. They write about food, travel, fashion, whatever else that might be. So I started subscribing to those. And I have found that journalists give first opportunities to people who are on their lists. Now, many of them also offer paid versions of what they do. So they offer trainings. So how to pitch to gift guides. And these are all or they offer small memberships, $20 a month. They host a Zoom happy hour or whatever. So I haven't explored the paid opportunities from them, but that's how I found Substack. And I do think that the things you find on Substack show up in the Substack even before they're sent out to HARO, for example.
That's so good. So basically you can do a search like, beauty or travel, follow one person. And the moment you subscribe, there's an automatic widget that pops up that says
Yes.
you might like them. And then so that way it takes the finding like out of your, effort. Like they automatically recommend you. And so
Yes.
for you, it would be like travel, lifestyle, fashion. For someone else, it could be like parenting, kids' toys. For someone else, it could be like, e-commerce. And so I think what matters is like find one journalist on Substack and then just keep going down the rabbit hole of like who they recommend, because the algorithm like automatically recommends. And how it goes is that it'll ping you by sending you an email, just like with HARO, of what that person is working on and the stories that they've published with the actual way to pitch them and their email address.
Yes.
So Swapna, how have you used Substack maybe a little bit differently than HARO to like cut through the noise and just get that yes?
So firstly, I've noticed on Substack, like you said, they give you their email address and they say, don't reply back to this newsletter, email me, and they give you their email address. They actually tell you, this is the subject line I want you to use, 6 best crossbody bags. They tell you the image resolution they want, the sizes you want. All of that information makes it so much easier to pitch to them, right? Sometimes, even if I'm not pitching, there's a couple of places that I am interested in hopefully being featured in. They also send out articles that they have written in the past or like most recently published, which may not be in my zone of genius, but I will still read those and include in my next pitch and say, hey, so and so, I enjoyed your article on, 6 unique Disney experiences, and I hope to use them next time I take a trip with my kids. It just makes it more authentic. Like you're not just, you're truly building a relationship. It's not just transactional, which I love. I mean, I love getting those kind of emails from people. So I just want to treat people how I would want to be treated.
That's amazing. And I bet you that reply rate is much higher than just, than someone else. So have you gotten like replies because you did actually use the exact thing that they were writing and then feed them that compliment?
Yeah. So that I've worked with a Forbes reporter. It hasn't come out yet. I don't know if it's going to, but I've even actually gone back and forth with her a couple of times in DMs and things like that. So I don't know if it's going to. I've pitched her twice, but if not, that's okay, because I think the more she gets used to seeing my name in her inbox, eventually that's going to result in something.
Yeah.
Right?
I always say the beauty is in the follow-up, but for so many of us, pitching is a very unnatural act because we're not taught how to pitch. And so it's already so hard to press that first send button. But then once you get featured, it becomes like an addiction. So can you tell people at the early stages when they just start sending it out, what is the right cadence? Like, do you answer that Substack and then you DM them and say, hey, I answered your Substack? Or what is the right way to get them to respond?
I do. So I send the email, and the most golden tip I got from you was to install that email tracker. It makes such a difference, right? Otherwise, you're just like spraying and praying, sort of. But send the email, and then because Instagram will not directly show people your DMs, I usually follow the people, I comment on their post, and I also say in my comment, by the way, I also sent you a DM about your Substack or your request on Substack. So I'm very specific why I've sent them a DM. I don't want to be that creepy person. And then in my DMs, I'll say, loved your article, so and so. I sent you, a response to your request about tote bags. I just thought I would connect here because a lot of times emails go to spam.
So good. Oh my God, you are like a star student. Like you should be teaching this.
That's what you said to say. So that's what I say.
That's amazing. And so then they actually have to go back and check their email. So then your email becomes top of mind when everything else is trying to compete for their attention.
Yes.
And so I think the beauty of the follow-up is like so important. No, it's not like a natural thing to follow up. Yes, it feels intimidating, but this Swapna story about how she got featured 8 times without knowing any of these journalists. And by the way, no introductions were made. It's not like I was like, hey, you should feature Swapna. Like, I don't know these people, right? Mm-hmm. The follow-up, when done right, absolutely can be the thing that gets you featured. Right. And so do you have any other tips about etiquette. I love what you said about complimenting them and saying you loved their article. I love what
Right.
you said about not harassing them in the DMs, but just tell them that you gently replied to their query.
Right.
What else can people do to increase chances?
I want to say that don't hesitate to follow up. And it's because so many times people have written back to me and said, thanks for letting me know it was in my spam or it was in my promos folder. Right. So I would say 50% of the people have replied back and said, I found your email, or can you resend it? I'm not seeing it. So do not be shy. Don't hesitate. And what else can I tell you about etiquette? I say, like, 3 times is plenty. Other than that, I think if they really need to find you, they will.
Yeah. Oof. That's so good. So now that you have 8 different publications, 8 journalists that you have built a relationship with, how do you keep those relationships? Because now with the media landscape, a lot of them are freelancers, which means that they write for multiple outlets, which is a great thing. So how have you been able to maybe ping them and say, hey, like, what are you working on? Because if they featured you once, they know that you're a credible, vetted, you're not a crazy person, probably want to tap you on the shoulder next time they're assigned anything related to fashion, lifestyle, or accessories.
Right. I really think this is where social media can be useful, is to keep up those relationships, follow them, not only see what they're working on, but also what are they all about? A lot of them are people, they're people just like you and me. They're posting pictures of their dogs and their travels and their kids. So kind of use that to have a personal relationship. And when the time is right, there will be that invitation where you can connect. Or if you feel like you have a super amazing idea, like I have somebody I met actually in your community last year that I am thinking of sending an idea now for the first quarter of 2025. So I think expecting instant results always, it's fine, but sometimes also know that you're also playing a long game.
Yeah. Oof, it's so good. I mean, what a long game it is. I mean, you've had so many features. Now those 8 connections could double and triple depending on what it is. So I think that's really the beauty. Whereas if you pay for ads and social media, you have to keep feeding the beast and the machine. And it's just, you don't own it. Right. And I think that customers are not necessarily making buying decisions just based off of Instagram, because you can buy your followers. Like that doesn't really do much for me. I think it's wonderful. Have you felt like doing PR in this way, has it also strengthened your ability to communicate in general, writing, talking, speaking?
Definitely. I think I feel a lot more confident, and I really feel the part of an expert, which, hello, imposter syndrome. There was no reason for me to not feel that before, but we have all been there. And like I said, like it's changed the way I write emails to, potential clients, partnerships, everything. So I think we all need to just own our expertise, which is much easier said than done. And especially, in many cultures, we're taught to be humble. We're taught not to brag. But if you don't toot your own horn, who's going to?
Yeah, exactly. It's unnatural and we get it, but at least that's why we're in this community together. I think for so many of us, like we're the first to do many things, first to start a business, first
100%.
to come to the US, right? So it's a lot of unlearning, but by doing this, we're paving a way for other people. Because when I think of style and fashion expert, I don't think of an Indian woman like you. I think of, because all the images that are being fed to me is someone else. And when I think of PR coach, you don't think of a 5 foot tall Chinese woman either. So this is absolutely beautiful work that we're doing. Is there anything else that, now that you've been on the other side of this, right? Someone who's just, starting their PR journey or who just started to join my program, but they just feel overwhelmed. They think maybe I can't do this. What do you have to say for them? Because not only is it the imposter syndrome, it's well, I'm busy and I have kids and I don't have time to do this. And, it's always this mental math of like, how do I spend my time on the right things? So how do you convince them? Because you're a busy mom as well. You have multiple kids.
So I would say, in the beginning, when I was new to the process, I was definitely time blocking and I was tracking everything. And I think that is a great practice. Once you get better at pitch writing, then it'll be just a well-oiled machine. You might have a template that you use, especially for some common things like your closing and opening paragraphs, right? So just know in the beginning, it will feel hard, but it gets easier the more you practice. And I'm a numbers person, so I love seeing, what am I putting into it? What am I getting back? And the sooner you do it in your business, the better it is. I waited 5 or 6 years. Don't be like me. Like, start small, start early, and then just keep going.
Oh, thank you so much, Swapna. So now that you've been 8 features, podcast, what do you have on your PR and visibility vision board for next year?
Speaking opportunities. We both have the same speaking coach. I have created a fantastic talk, and I just want more women to hear my message. So I'm going to keep working on all the things I've worked on this year, and then add that as my next layer.
Yeah. Shout out to Heather Sager, who's our speaking coach.
Yes,
for sure. I love it. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Swapna. How can people find you? Not only just about, what you talked about today, but just your journey, like balancing motherhood and also your business and being in the online space, all of it.
Sure. My favorite place to hang out is Instagram. My handle is style.remix. Remix has 2 X's at the end. And my website is styleremix.com. And you will find all kinds of fun things and tools for branding, color, everything else on my website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Swapna. I'm just in awe of you, and you become such a light for all of us in the community, the way you share, the way you give. And I love that you're always passing along PR opportunities to us too. So thank you for being in our community.
Thank you so much, Gloria. This has been so much fun, and I'm so glad our paths crossed, and may we be lighting the path for other women like us.